We are going to start off with our land acknowledgement, and then the Eugene Raging Grannies will open up our memorial service with a set. So we'll get started. Since time immemorial, the Kailapuya people have been the indigenous stewards of our region, building dynamic communities, maintaining balance with wildlife, and enhancing sustainable land practices. A land acknowledgement is a way of resisting the erasure of indigenous histories and to honor Native communities by inviting truth and reconciliation. Following treaties between 1845 and 1855, Kailapuya people were dispossessed of their indigenous homeland by the United States government and forcibly removed to the Coast Reservation in Western Oregon. As we consider the impacts of colonization, we also acknowledge the strength and resiliency of displaced indigenous people. The city of Eugene is built within the traditional homelands known as the Kailapuya Lihi. Kailapuya descendants are citizens of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians of Oregon. They continue to make contributions in our communities here and across the lands. We express our respect for the inherent political sovereignty of all federally recognized tribal nations and indigenous people who live in the state of Oregon and across the nation. Thank you. The Eugene Raging Grannies will take the stage to open our memorial service, and thank you for being here.
We are, in fact, the Eugene Raging Grannies. We use humor and music to rage for justice and kindness in a world that too often ignores the need for both. Although this is a solemn occasion to honor those who are gone, they have left us with a responsibility to make a change for the better in the lives of the houseless. We hope to inspire you to make that change so that next year we can use this event to celebrate no lives lost and everyone housed. Yay. There you go, Trudy. Kind of low.
Oh, we're a gaggle of grannies, urging you off your fannies. We're raising our voice, we want a new choice, homes for all. This problem might seem unending, but here's the message we're sending. We don't want to wait, it isn't too late. Homes for all. So join this gaggle of grannies. Get up off of your fannies. We're telling you how. We need housing now. Homes for all.
Now we're going to ask for a little audience participation in this one. You'll recognize it.
Okay. When no one is without a home, when no one is without a home, oh how I want to be in that number. When no one is without a home. Get ready. When streets are safe. For us to walk, when streets are safe for us to walk, oh how I want to be in that number, when streets are safe for us to walk, when poverty has been erased, when poverty has been erased. Oh, how I want to be in that number when poverty has been erased. When workers get a living wage. When workers get a living wage. Oh, how I want to be in that number when workers get a living wage. When no one is without a home. When no one is without a home. Oh, how I want no one is without a home.
I'll sign up after this and be part of the grannies. You'll all pass.
Yep. You pass the invitation.
Don't need to be a granny to join.
No,
And obviously, you don't have to be a singer.
but you do have to dress up. Silent night, sleepless night, seeking dark, shining light, shelters crowded or won't take my pet. I have problems, there's rules I forget. Where's a place to find peace? Where there's then no chance of peace. Silent night, sleepless night. I have a tent, but there's no sight. Freezing weather or rain pouring down. People staring while I walk the town. No solution inside. We know it just isn't right. Silent night, sleepless night. Tired and cold, chilled with fright. Poor and houseless was never my plan. Vicious cycles, I do what I can. Here's a message I send. There's hope if you'll be a friend. Okay, got it. 1, 2. These streets are your streets, these streets are my streets. Broadway, Willamette, and even High Streets. These parks are our parks, not just for some parks. Eugene was made for you and me. As I was walking one day down Broadway, a poor old woman was coming my way. She looked downtrodden, her cart was loaded, and this is what she said to me. I did not want this, I did not plan this, but I am homeless and on the bad list. People despise me, they treat me badly. Why does the city let it be? I want a safe place to lay my head down, but there is no place for me to bed down. If I had power, I'd try to change things so these streets would be the same for all. So listen, Eugene, we need to act well. Folks need a safe place and not a jail cell. Let's work together to make it happen. These streets were made for you and me. These streets were made for you and me. Oh, give us a home so we don't have to run. be bothered, you see. They just want us to go, but what they do not know is that we also want to be free. Free to walk around and to not have to sleep on the ground. And when our day is through, we need shelter like you. Lend a hand and we'll be homeward bound. What I need is a place somewhere safe from the cold night air, with no policeman there. Now that is an improvement. It's getting cold and my blanket's in empty buildings you can't get in. Try parks, they'll run you in, and no one has an answer. Condos sell for $1 million. Rents are high and welfare sucks. While we are out of luck, but we still need an answer. Conestogas are not a lot, but at least they're a safe, dry spot to keep the clothes I've got. Now that is an improvement. What I need is a place somewhere safe from the cold night air, where I am welcome there. Now that is an improvement. Improvement, 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 improvement.
And now, what you've been waiting for, another call and response.
Let's practice. You want to practice? Okay, we're gonna practice. We're gonna sing "Listen to the Street Folk," and you're going to sing "Listen to the Street Folk." All right, there you go. You got
And we're going to sing it too because we didn't rehearse this one.
Listen to the street folks, listen to the street folks. What do they say? What do they say? Show us some humanity, show us some humanity. Right away, right away. Listen to the houseless, listen to the houseless. What do they say? What do they say? Struggling to get by, huddling to get by. We're still here, we're still here. Listen to the people, listen to the people. What do they say? What do they say? All we want is housing, all we want is housing. Come what may, come what may.
That's the last song of our little show here, but we're going to come back at the very, very end and sing Amazing Grace. With all of you. Yeah, with all of you.
Right. Thank you, grannies, and thank you all for being here. So, we will open our memorial service with opening remarks from the Human Rights Commission to talk a little bit about why this event matters and why we're here tonight. So, my name is Blake Burrell. I'm the chair of the City of Eugene's Human Rights Commission. The Human Rights Commission is a group of volunteers, advocates, organizational leaders, and members of the public who are together to advise the City of Eugene on how to improve the overall organization of our city. And part of what we do is accountability. Part of what we do is talking about the reality of what's happening to our folks who are experiencing homelessness in the city of Eugene. Tonight is a really sad night. Tonight is a night that we gather and we talk about our friends And our community of folks who are living on the streets of Eugene, who are living in our shelter systems, who are living in our community without a home, without a place to call their own. We are talking about a group of folks who are marginalized by the city of Eugene, a group of individuals who are victims of enforcement being moved from place to place every night, being given citations, criminal punishment, fees, being told that they are less than human by our systems, by our people, by our personnel, and it's not okay. People should not die on the streets. People should not be without housing. We should not be living in a system that doesn't pay us enough to live, that does not give us a place to be, that does not give us a place to call our own, and it's not okay. And we shouldn't be here to have this conversation. I shouldn't be talking about my friends who have died this year. It's not okay. We are living in a system that is not okay. It is unhealthy. It is not humane. And having to be here is really hard for me. I have cried multiple times today. I cry a lot. And I have really deep emotions and really deep feelings about this. And it's really hard to stand here and talk to you all about this. There are names that are going to be read tonight that are people I love. And I know there are names that are people that you all have loved too. And holding this space to honor them is really important and really precious. And I know that a lot of us come from different walks of life, and we have a lot of different thoughts and attitudes about this issue. And I want us to have a place to come to acknowledge this moment, to acknowledge that it's not okay. People should not be experiencing homelessness. It's not okay. So I really appreciate you being here, and I really appreciate people who have been here to put this on, all our folks that came and brought resources and food to make sure that folks that come to this event don't have to make the choice between food and resources and a place to sleep or coming to memorialize their friends. That's why we have this Share Fair. It's to make sure that people that come here can eat, because not everyone can. Not everyone has a place to do that. And they have to make choices, daily choices, every day between doing what they'd like to do with their time and trying to survive. We have people in our community trying to survive. And so I appreciate everyone that is holding this space and making sure that members of our community can be here. For everyone that's going to speak who come from different walks of life in different ways, supporting our unhoused communities and lived experiences of their own, being unsheltered. Thank you for being here. So the Human Rights Commission has spoken very openly about what's going on in Eugene and what we'd like to see change. And if you haven't, I encourage you to take the statement that was written last year, at this time last year, where we asked the city of Eugene to change what they're doing, to be more humane, to have an approach that's focused on support, not enforcement. We've asked for this to change. It hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. I'm the chair of the Human Rights Commission. I've talked to our city government. I've talked to council. I've talked to mayor. I've talked to city manager. I've said this is what needs to change. These are the words of street outreach providers like Black Thistle. These are the words of HIV Alliance. These are the words of folks who are unhoused themselves, asking you to change, asking you to treat them like human beings. We need to keep pushing. We need to keep reminding what is going on. Tonight, we are doing that. Members of city government are here. Members of our community are here. We're going to hear the names of people who have died, and they're going to be a part of it. And that is important, because we have to take this moment to put into context what is happening and honor those names. So I appreciate you all being here. I'll be introducing our speakers tonight as this program goes on. And we'll be having a few speakers, reading the names. and then closing with the Raging Grannies once again. So thank you. Chris.
Hello, my name is Chris McAllister. I'm with Carefree, generally speaking as a provider, but I am here today as a community member. Please bear with me, this was hard for me to write. Good evening, sisters, brothers, and respected others who move the bodies. We are the people who hold that know that they are dying. I'm a flawed human. I am here on the backs of giants and through the perseverance of a people who have had to endure the absence and sometimes, as represented tonight, the loss of life to be recognized in their plight. I come before you as someone who has been through the experience of homelessness for 8 years, from the age of 13 to 22, young but present. Quote, so early in life I had to learn that if you want something, you had to make some noise, end quote. I have held the hands of some of our lost and sought recognition of our fallen, whether through the naming of city sites of those who died in our streets, for who would be able to come in their image, or coordinating for solutions that have not been seen in the existent programming, despite the lived experience, please. I have held the hands of some of our fallen and sought the recognition, stumbling. There are some whose time has come as dimmed. There are some who leave us unexpectedly through their choices or the errant act of another who did not see them as one of us. There are some who have lived a life and found solutions acceptable 10 to 15 years ago. Over 40 people have fallen in the past 8 years for me, and not all of them were homeless, but they fell for the same causes and bled for the same bleed. They are the people who have a loved one out here. They are the people who staff and see day to day, night after night, the vulnerable all. Around 20 of the lost that we have seen in the last 5 years were done so in a manner that could have been prevented. Others didn't fit the mold of the current programs we have. Choices and options are properties maintained by the house, myself included. And they are not forgotten. Our people are not forgotten. Rarely is the scarcity of resources the fault of those in need, whether it is a safe place to sleep or the need for meds, food, or recovery. If not here, it cannot be realized. The person suffering risks not being seen. In these trying times and the times to come, I ask that you consider and reflect on this final quote. Quote, if you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. The quotes above are from Malcolm X, a man who understood the element of community in the face of resistance. Thank you for honoring our lost, respecting our fallen, and serving the living in the efforts to not add their names next time we meet next year to remember why our people are gone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Chris. Richard Self, Chair of League.
On this long night, we gather to honor and celebrate the lives of those unhoused we have lost. Our neighbors to the north in Multnomah County have tallied 453 souls lost this year. Being unhoused comes with constant trauma and tragedy, many times seeming to be overwhelming, especially at this time of year. So as we remember those we have lost, we must remember that it is us, the living, that must not give up nor lose our faith. In that spirit, I will now share a story, or a century old, of trauma, tragedy, and loss during what is supposed to be the most joyous time of year. In mid-November 1873, an ocean liner, testing, okay. In mid-November,
Test.
oh, let's try that. Thank you. In mid-November 1873, an ocean liner, the Val d'Har, set sail from New York with 313 passengers on board. One can imagine their festive Atlantic crossing with ribbons of red, swags of evergreen, and Christmas carols waffling through the dining room. In a few days, they would make landfall in Europe just weeks before the Christmas in Paris. Anna Spafford and her 4 little girls were among the happy passengers. They had come from Chicago, and their father, Horatio, had intended to sail with them, but was detained on business. Not to worry, he assured his wife and children. He would book his passage in a few days, and they would soon be in the City of Lights, celebrating the season of joy. And joy is what they needed. 2 years earlier, the Great Chicago Fire had all but destroyed Horatio's business. This journey was intended to restore hope and bring healing into their lives, which was why on the ship on the evening of November 22nd, Anna and her girls knelt down and said prayers for peace and fell asleep dreaming of the Yuletide festivities to come. At about 2 o'clock in the morning, they were jolted awake in their berths. Despite the clear, starry night sky, the Val d'Har had inexplicably collided with the Loch Earn, an iron-hulled Scottish clipper. Lifeboats were quickly filled with people. Many passengers leapt into the icy waters. Anna tried desperately to keep her children together, but the two eldest became separated in the confusion. Just 12 minutes after impact, a wave washed over the deck, and Anna was drawn under the water with her youngest daughters. She held on to her 5-year-old until her strength gave out, and her last memory was of 2-year-old Tanetta in her delicate nightgown, getting drawn down and getting smaller and smaller until she too finally disappeared. Later, the crew of the Loch Earn found Anna unconscious, floating on a wooden plank. When the ship docked in Wales, Anna sent a telegram to her husband saying, "Saved, alone, what should I do?" Horatio immediately sailed from New York. And there is just one thing in these days that became magnificently clear. He wrote to a friend, "I must not lose faith." 4 days into his voyage, on a Thursday evening, the captain summoned Mr. Spafford to the foredeck. By the crew's calculations, they were nearing the place where the ship had gone down, taking it with the bodies of the 4 daughters, now residing 3 miles below. But Horatio refused to look down. He did not think of the dear ones there. he later recounted. Instead, he gazed out over the rolling waves and up into the moonlit sky, and there he began to formulate a simple expression of his faith, a verse that would become a beloved hymn. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like a sea billows roll, whatever my lot that has taught me to say, it is well with my soul. A few weeks earlier, in the same place on the open sea, Anna had experienced a similar awakening. After her rescue, she regained consciousness and became overcome with despair. She wanted to throw herself back into the ocean. What was life worth living without her beloved children? But then, it's as she heard a voice in her mind and in her heart that said, "You are spared for a purpose. You have work to do." They returned to Chicago, and Anna gave birth to a boy and then a girl. But sorrow upon sorrow, Horatio Jr. succumbed to scarlet fever, and although only 2 of their 7 children survived to maturity, the Spaffords never yielded hope. They moved their family to Jerusalem and established what they called the American colony, not far from the little town of Bethlehem we celebrate at Christmas. Although they were deeply religious, their purpose was not to preach or proselytize, but to serve the people of all backgrounds, relieving the effects of poverty, disease, and strife wherever they were found. 7 years later, Horatio died. Once again, Anna had the reason to give up, but she did not. In her most profound spiritual crisis, when all seemed lost, Anna found the strength to move forward and to turn outward, to continue what she and her husband had begun. And the seed of service they planted in others bore sweet fruit. And so they established the Spafford Family Hospital for Children, which is their most established work and still bears their name to this day. For over 150 years, millions have sung and been lifted by Horatio's hymn, "It Is Well With My Soul." Most are unaware of the circumstances in which it was written, but they have been strengthened by its universal message. Horatio's words resound with the truth we celebrate at Christmas. A child was born in Bethlehem, bringing peace on earth and goodwill towards men. Because of him, the human spirit can arise above tragedy wherever and whenever we suffer our own night of sorrow. His love does shine in the darkness. His peace can heal the wounded soul. And the Christmas work of giving, loving, serving, and rescuing is ours if we choose to make it so. And as we do, we join with saints and angels to rejoice and sing, "It is well. It is well with my soul."
David Strandham, Eugene Warming Centers.
I had a much longer speech plan than this, but when I started looking at all the names that were here, a lot of them have touched me directly. 2 of the names up here were cheering for me when I left the hospital. They were supporting me, flying banners for me. 2 of the names on the bags you see here. So I'm honored to be asked to speak. I'm honored to be able to hear these names again. even as painful as it is. Because these homeless, they're our neighbors. They're the ones who struggled in silence. Their struggles on this earth have ended. It's up to us to make sure they're not forgotten. For the social workers and caseworkers out here, some of these names are going to hit really hard for you. They're folks that you've advocated for. For a lot of the homeless, these were your camp buddies. These were folks that you knew. These were people who gave you a coat, who gave you a blanket when you were in need. Don't stop being part of that supportive community. It's not looking better. It's going to be a struggle. Let's not give up. So these are the names of the ones that we know. For the volunteers, the organizations, I'm here with St. Vincent de Paul, the Egan Warming Center. I'm here with Carry It Forward. I'm here with my own program, Hope on Wheels. I know a lot of these names because I have a little bit of reach. I know a lot of the faces out here because we've interacted. We know the common people. We know the names of a lot of these people up here. You're their warrior. You're the person who stood up for them when nobody else had a voice, when nobody else would speak up for them. Don't forget how important that was for them. Yeah, we came up short. We're going to continue to come up short. I'm not saying it's going to get better. It's going to get harder. But if we don't lift ourselves up and we don't lift each other up, the ones who are doing the work, whether your friends are named up here, whether your friends or family died in another state, these should mean something to you. And the people who are here doing this, you're here because you have a heart. Again, to the next 4 years, it's not going to be easy. Practice self-care. When you see your friends struggling, help them up. When you see somebody whose name you might see here standing on a street corner, don't look away. Look in their eyes. If you walk by them, acknowledge them. If you have time, hear their story. The names up here, the Badgers, knew him personally. Jim lived at my house. Delana held a banner for me on my trip home from the hospital, and she was homeless herself. So, support those that we can support. Because when things go right and decisions go your way, that's what keeps us back. That's what keeps us coming back. That's what keeps us engaged. That's what keeps us wanting to help these people. Those small rewards. Yeah, these may seem like failures, but I'll bet you they're here who knew these names and something better that happened to them because you were in their lives, because you were a part of their lives. Maybe you gave them refuse. Maybe you're an Egan volunteer, you gave them a one night. Me, I get to give them keys sometimes. Those rewards that we get don't feel. That's what keeps our hearts engaged. We know the reason that these names are up here, and it's flat out greed. We know that. We have the collective will to make a difference. It's time for everybody to hear that will and make your voice be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Mayor Venus.
Hey! Oh, for crying out loud. Okay. Okay, let me, hold on, let me just put this where I can reach it here. Oh, fine. Thank you. I think I'll stand over here away from the mess. I appreciate the deep anger and frustration that inspired the throwing of a bowl of chili, the folks that are standing with their backs to me. I recognize that we are inadequate in our response, that our response falls short and in many cases adds to the trauma and the injury and the pain that people who are living unsheltered experience in our community. And I am here as your mayor to hold responsibility and accountability for that, and to say that I come here every year wishing that this event were unnecessary, because we were serving all of the people who so desperately need our support and our care and our compassion. We fail year after year, but we continue to pursue this. We continue to try, and we must do this work together. Turning our backs on one another is not a pathway towards a resolution. I will acknowledge that thanks to the work of many of you in the room, to the Human Rights Commission, all of the nonprofits and the providers, we do a lot of good work in this community. The city has supported a lot of good work in this community. It is not enough. The scale and the suffering exceeds our capacity to do everything that we wish to do and we want to do. And I acknowledge that all of these people who have died here, unprotected, unsheltered, with inadequate care and support, that they all had lives, they all had family. There's family here in this room. This is not the only chapter in their lives. It was the final chapter. But before this chapter, they lived lives, they fell in love, they traveled, they owned homes and lost them. They had health and lost their health. That along that way, as a society, we failed those people collectively. And that suffering lands on the streets of the city of Eugene and in our parks and in all our public spaces. And it is our task to find a better pathway to keep those people safe and to find greater stability. We are not done. This was an issue close to my heart before I took office, when I worked for shelter care. It is an issue that is an abiding concern for me that I will carry with me when I step out of office in the beginning of next year. But I am here to pledge to you that the city of Eugene will continue to do this hard work. We will continue to talk to you, to share resources and information and ideas. We will continue to do what we can do. And I will continue to take this issue to the state and the national level, because the challenge is much greater than the city of Eugene or Lane County. We all have to do this work. It is not, there is not the capacity for one person or one small group of people to address an issue of such deep suffering that has continued for decades. So my heart goes out to all of you who are grieving tonight and will continue to grieve. It is a wound that is slow to heal. But the best we can do is to pledge that from this night, we honor those, the lives that they lived, the impact that they had on our lives, the memory that we care for them, and we take that out into the world to continue to do the work that we are able to do. Thank you all. Thank you all.
You're going to have to project.
Thank you all for being here tonight, for sharing your hopes, your despair, your anger, your wish for a better world. I am with you, I join you, and I hope that together we can continue to do the work we need to do to alleviate suffering. And I believe with that, are we ready to read the names? Ready? Al. Amanda Dupre Rayleigh. Ariel Friesner. Badger. Barry Schneider. Billy Foster. Clay. Clifford Bowman, Craig Kruger, David McCoy, Delina Chambers, Dennis, Doc, Don Sanborn, Dwayne Woods, Elizabeth Adams, Elvis, Eric Jackson, Eugene Phillips, Flint, Gigi, Greg Carruthers, Gregory Thornbury, known as Greg, Hazel Day, Hunter Hand, Hunter Hermes, known as Trapper, Ian Craig, Jeanette M. Hayworth, Jason Adams, known as Doc, Jason Brantley, Jason Charles Adams, Jeff Kirkpatrick, Jennifer Tatum, Jeremy Blue Eyes, John Beck, John Garrett, John O'Neill, Jonah, Jonah Daggs, Joseph Boyd, Josh Wright, Ms. Jennifer Tatum, known as Skittles, Nathan McNeil, Nicole Vargas, Nicole Mason, Pat Hadley, PB, Ricky Hoy, Robert Liberty Sr., known as Ranger, Robert Mather, Robert Reeves, Ron, Ronald Stoltenberg, known as Captain Ron, Ronald Ward, Ruby, Rudolph Grunwald, known as Pancho, Scott Crozier, Sparkles, Terry Derringer, Tom Campbell, Trapper, Lance Plummer, Stacy Rains, Amber Mark, Big Jim Young, Travis Hembury, Doc, Hefe, Piper, Edward Bo Carlson, Jack Moore, TD, A, Parardos, Trapper, and Tron. Rest in peace.
Thank you. Thank you all for holding that space. Thank you for being here and for taking the time for us to hear the names. There are people on that list that I love. We'll close tonight's ceremony with the Eugene Raging Grannies singing Amazing Grace. We'll ask the Grannies to take the stage. And our speakers who can clear the stage. And speakers, we can clear the stage.
If you'd like to sing along, please do. It's such a beautiful song.
The trouble is there's 5 verses and everybody just knows the first one. Didn't make copies.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and fears my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. This
first begun. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see.
Thank you for all you do to help others.